I'm going to talk about isopods, also known as pill bugs, roly-polies. Not all of them roll into a ball, actually. Some species, like these guys that you see here, they just kind of play dead. But the name is kind of still the same for all of them. So I'm going to go over, okay, why would you want to keep these things? Well, there's a few reasons, and then I'm also going to go over how to take care of them if you think you might be interested. So, first, most popular, I think, is because they're really good cleaners for terrariums. If you've got pet frogs, pet lizards, as long as they have a place to hide, they can usually evade capture by whatever you've got in there. At least good enough to where they can still help clean the terrarium. Now, it doesn't mean that you won't have to clean it. You'll still have to do some cleaning, but they do eat a whole lot of poop and things. Actually, if it's not decomposing matter, they can't digest it. They rely on that bacteria. That's what helps them digest their food. If it doesn't have enough bacteria in it, they'll starve because they can't digest it. I would imagine it could even make them sick if they ate too much of fresh stuff. So little, slices of zucchini, squash, cucumber. Some people put, sardines in there, little dried sardines, fish food. But my favorite thing to put in there, easiest thing, just get some little Isopod wafers, or some people call them bug burgers. There are a lot of different brands out there, but they all basically do the same thing. You stick it in there, and as you can see with this, it does eventually start to decompose, and that's what it's supposed to do. It gives them a 100% nutritional diet without, worrying about any kind of possible imbalances. So if you see those little, I know it's very hard to see, but if you see those little tiny dots walking around, that, believe it or not, are the babies. That's how small the babies are. And they're actually quite prolific, so it's really cool to watch. Pretty quickly, a colony will start to have babies, and those little wafers are the best for the babies because it gives them complete nutrition and best chance of survival and growing into adulthood. Now, a second reason for them is for composting. They're kind of like earthworms. I mean, they're that good at composting. And so once I get enough of these guys, I think I might try them in my compost. Because they're supposed to be very good, and most definitely other people have used them for that. Lastly, they actually make pretty good pets. If you think about hissing cockroaches and spiders and tarantulas and stuff, scorpions, then it doesn't seem so weird that these are also quite popular as pets. Now, they've gained popularity in the last several years. They didn't used to be that popular, but now they're kind of catching on, and these are all captive bred, so they have all these really cool colors that you just would never see in the wild, and pretty easy actually to buy them. If your pet store doesn't have them, most often than not, you can find them online and have them shipped straight to your house. So usually you only have to buy one colony and then you're set, because most of them are so prolific that you'll never have to buy any replacements. And they're really neat to watch, very interesting to watch, especially if you put their bark up against the glass. Then they are a lot easier to spot even during the daytime. They're nocturnal, so they come out at dusk like it is right now, and they stay out at night, but they hate the light. And so if you have it pressed up against the glass, like some of these are, then, and you also have it in the shade, not in bright light in your house somewhere, then you can still kind of see them crawling underneath the wood during the day. Also, at night, you can get a little, like aquarium nightlight, very, very low, not bright, a night setting that's not just a night setting, but a low, low night setting. And if it's best to get one that you can dial down the brightness. There is such a thing, I have one, and it doesn't usually affect them too much, so that you can put that on while viewing, and then turn it off, whenever you're not viewing, so that you still give them enough time of it being completely dark, because they prefer it no light to, dim light. They much prefer zero light. So they don't have the ability to bite like hissing cockroaches do, like scorpions do, like spiders do. So they're safer. And, they're, depending on the species, they can be either a little smaller or a lot smaller than cockroaches. But these guys are one of the bigger species. And you see right there that one's almost full grown. And that is, about the length of the first digit of my finger. So, they're still a pretty good size. And it's kind of like watching an ant colony, except you're watching isopods. So, really cool scientifically, educationally, and just as, in general as pets. It teaches little kids to, they're kind of their first lesson in having a pet, what it means to have a pet. If you don't take care of it, it dies, type thing. Why that's so important, why it's important to be responsible, and why you should appreciate nature, no matter what it is, no matter how big or small it is. They're actually very social creatures, and you'll see them interact with each other a lot. There's never a dull moment, really. They're always doing something. And this bark is very important, because not only is it their home, but it's they do eat a lot of bark as well. That can't be the only thing they eat, but they do eat a lot of it. So bark is very important. If you don't have bark, you at least have to have some kind of leaf substrate. Some people keep both. I have bark and moss is what I have, and they're doing fantastic with that. They're just thriving with that. You also need to mist. Every once in a while you need to mist with a water mister their enclosure, because that is how they drink water, through not only through the moisture in their food, but through the droplets in that sprayer. They actually prefer their house to stay slightly moist all the time. Though some people do keep it dry, they prefer it, a little damp. Not sopping wet, but damp. Actually, if you have standing water anywhere, whether it be a little dish of water, or you sprayed too much and it went to the bottom, and it's pooling at the bottom, they can actually drown in that. So, very important that you mist them and don't give them an actual water dish. So this is our little, quote, bug burgers, that some people call them. I call them little Isopod Wafers. Actually, Josh's Frogs is a pretty good resource for a lot of very, very reputable, and they just are little wafers. They look like little fish food wafers. As long as you got that, that's the only food that they would ever need. And you don't have to worry about supplementing all these different things that you may or may not have lying around your house to get them the proper nutrition. So a must, these things, doesn't matter what brand, but something, meant for isopods. And then bark, those are your two biggest things that you need, along with the sprayer. And you kind of just, check and see, okay, when is it getting a little drier in there, and when do they need more food? No, again, this food is supposed to decompose. This was what's supposed to do. Their whole diet is decomposing matter, mold, fungus. So very important that you realize not to take it out. That's what they need. So you got to keep that in there, because that is what it's designed to do. So don't freak out when you start seeing mold on it or something. Now, very, very few funguses or fungi are harmful to them, but some are. And so if happen by chance you get the bark from the forest, it could potentially kill them if it has some kind of fungus on it that is toxic to them. So I recommend buying the bark, animal safe bark. Cork bark usually is what you can find, and that lasts forever. That's the best kind of bark anyway for them, is cork bark, because you'll hardly ever have to replace that. So those are all the tips and pointers that I can think of right off the bat, as far as isopods go, and they're really very easy to take care of, much easier than fish in my opinion, much easier than most pets. And fish are pretty easy, so I have them just to observe them, just to kind of watch them and de-stress at the end of the day. So yes, while I might eventually, use them in compost to help with compost, and my main purpose for getting them was just for, enjoyment for a pet. So not just for kids, adults like them too.